Welcome to SAT TV News. I am Larry Larrock, your presenter. In our top stories, Scott said residents disappointed with Palrep's lack of representation. Cases of chikungunya on the rise in St. Martin. South winds to knock polar vortex back up to Canada. And in sports, Windies defeat New Zealand by 203 runs. Details of these will follow. SAT Telecommunications Limited is in the process of reorganizing our channels. In this endeavor, some channels will be off temporary and new ones will be introduced. SAT Telecommunications Limited is pleased to inform you of a number of new channels. We have just added for your viewing pleasure Lifetime Movie Channel, Lifetime Real Women, Discovery Civilization, Discovery Science, Discovery Turbo, and many other new ones to come. We are sure that you will enjoy the new programming, which will enhance your viewing pleasure and provide you with many more channels. SAT Telecoms thanks you for your continuous support and understanding throughout this initiative, and we will keep you informed as the changes occur.
Yo, this is Ace Banton in SAT building, baby. You're watching SAT Telecom, that's the #1 choice. Boom!
Welcome back. Former Scottsdale resident Mr. Jeff Bellot and his family donated several books to the Soufriere Primary School to enhance the capacity of the school's library on Tuesday, 7th January 2014. Mr. Bellot, who now lives in the United States, says he aims at creating a library filled with various books to help in the development of the students and by extension the community.
I must say that today is a historic day for the teachers, students and parents of the Soufriere School. It is approximately 2 years today, and I'm sure Mr. Juice remember that, when we came here and read to the kids, my daughter Maydine read the story to the kids, and we were told that they need more books and would like to start a library. Well, this reality has become.
Mr. Bellot noted that with no interest shown by the present parliamentary representative of the constituency, it was very difficult to make this happen.
Unfortunately, with no help or interest in the present Palrep, it makes it very difficult to make this happen. However, with courage from God, my wife and members of my church and the local government from Wauwatosa, Wisconsin in the United States, we overcame all obstacles in the way, unable to make this project possible.
He said his wife and himself strongly believes that the best way to help a community in need is to start with educating the youth and children in the community. He went on to applaud the students for their participation in the school's reading competition held earlier last year.
The bigger picture is to grow the community, to grow the library where we can have adult books as well, where people can keep reading, especially those who are getting older and struggling in reading and writing.
Meanwhile, principal of the Soufriere Primary School thanked Mr. Bellot and his family for making such a thoughtful donation, adding that it will go a long way in enhancing the students' reading capacity. In more news, veteran Dominican playwright Dr. Alwyn Bully says he is honored that his play Ruler was selected to be published in 5 languages by the French company L'Autre Souffle. Making the announcement at a symposium on Caribbean theater in Paris of November 2013, president of the company Jean-Michel Marchal said that the excellent work of the region's playwright must be brought to the attention of the world, and the first step in that direction was to make the plays available in various languages. Dr. Bully noted the play is an adaptation of a novel.
I read that novel in 1972. It's a novel entitled The Ruler in Haruna. It was written by a Vincentian writer. He was a public servant for many years. He rose very high into the public service. And he had a good opportunity to observe how the various governments were formed, how he started trade unions, how these trade unions became parties, how these parties developed into mass movements of people, and then the coming of things like the Federation, and after the Federation leading into independence. So he was able to write a very interesting novel where he was able to chronicle, so to speak, the events in the Caribbean that led to our present political system. So it gives a very clear insight on the history in that sense, as well as the kind of people who came forward as leaders or as supporters or as organizers in these parties. But he does it in a very light and very entertaining way. It's not like a heavy story that it sounds, like all the politics and so on.
He said the next stage of his play will be to transform it into a movie, but that in itself is very expensive. The play has been performed in countries including Antigua, Barbados, Dominica, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to all rave reviews and tremendous success.
Well, to be published in 5 languages is a major achievement for any author, because it means that lots of people from different nationalities and different cultures are going to become familiar with the writer's work. It means that they are aware of the thinking of the writer, they are aware of the country that the writer comes from, they are aware of the history and culture of the people that are represented in the play. So it makes you feel, in a sense, that you are reaching people who you never ever thought of when you were writing a play. When one begins to write anything, in fact, one takes a chance, because you're really exposing to the public what you're thinking, your thoughts. And some people are very private about their thoughts and what they like and what they don't like. In a play or a novel, people get an understanding of how your mind works and what it is you want to say to the world.
Dr. Bully said, although he never expected his play to be published in 5 different languages, he is humbled by the idea that his work was selected above other famous writers in the Caribbean. It will be published in English, French, Spanish, Dutch, and Creole. In more stories, the University of the West Indies UWI Open Campus in Dominica will host an interest-based bargaining workshop on Monday, 13th January 2014. It will take place from 9 a.m. at the UWI Open Campus Auditorium on Emsall Road. The workshop will be facilitated by Dr. Noel Cowell, Senior Lecturer at UWI Mona School of Business, and Mr. Donald Roberts, Head of U. Lawson Sherrod Trade Union Education Institute. During the opening ceremony, there will be remarks from Mr. Roberts, Dr. Francis Sevre, Director of Open Campus Country Sites, stakeholders, and the Prime Minister of Dominica, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit. The purpose of the workshop is to introduce the key players in the public and private sectors to a new model in collective bargaining and negotiation that radically departs from the current adversarial and protracted approach. This new approach, called interest-based bargaining, is designed to restore trust and confidence in the public and private sector collective bargaining process, which is central to the country's short to medium-term microeconomic strategy. In more stories, one of Scots Head natives is of the view that the current parliamentary representative, Honorable Sam Martin, needs to be replaced, as he lacks in providing the proper representation the residents of Scots Head, Gallia, and Soufriere deserve. Mr. Jeff Bellot, a frequent visitor to his hometown Dominica, is based in the United States, says, as it relates to proper communication with his constituents, Mr. Martin has left them in the dark.
Most of you maybe remember about the water issue we had in Savon Scots Head, where the parrot himself lived there, and when I contacted him, he said he was not aware of it, and as the Calypso song say, I will look into it. Unfortunately, nothing was done. I had to come to Dominica to put pressure on the WASCO. Many people remember that. And because of me, we were able to put the pressure on the WASCO and the problem was solved.
He highlighted that one very important project he organized in the United States failed as a result of Mr. Martin's lack of interest in his idea, one that would have seen trash cans provided to every resident in the free communities. Mr. Bellot says the PALREP has failed the people and the residents need to speak up so the Prime Minister can get the message to replace Mr. Martin as a candidate for the next general elections.
My vision is one day to be representing my people at a high level. And if I ever represent the people in Soufriere constituency, I will guarantee the people a project that we don't even have to get funding from government to do, where we can do ourselves. A great example is at the Brooklyn playing field. Look at the state of this field. We used to have great cricket activities here, rounders and other activities. What happened to that? What happened to our Kone Konla? Let's elevate Crab Fest to bring it back to reality, to bring more economic growth to the community. Fet La Pointe, grow that so that we can bring more economic growth to the community. The Scott said government school is shut down. Why don't we change that into a technical school where people can be masons, learn to be masons, carpenters, and other trade, and women can be learn how to sew, and they can be chefs and cook. These are the things, simple things we need in our community. These are the things I would do if I was elected to be PAL rep.
Mr. Belt is currently working on the necessary procedures to put himself forward as a candidate for the constituency, if not for the 2015 general elections, then for the future. He added, his dream is to ensure the residents of Scott Said, Gallio and Soufriere receive the proper representation they need and deserve. When contacted, Mr. Martin said he will not comment on the matter. This has been the local segment of the news. Coming up next, regional highlights.